Hello, mummy triplets. Ivana here, and I am your host on Tiny Wishes Stories. Welcome to another episode where we share anonymous fertility journeys inspired by real-life experiences. This is a safe space where we listen, learn, and support one another through the ups and downs of trying to conceive. Today's anonymous email comes from someone we'll call Kemi. Let's get right into her story. Dear Ivana, I've been following your page since the beginning, and after listening to the stories you've shared, I finally found the courage to write mine. My name isn't really Kemi, but that's the name I'd like you to use. My husband and I have been married for 8 years. 8 beautiful years. 8 difficult years. 8 years of answering the same question over and over again. So when are we carrying your baby? Everyone asked. At first, I used to smile whenever people asked. I would laugh and say, very soon. Back then, I believed it too. I genuinely thought that by our first anniversary, I would be carrying our first child. Then 1 year became 2. Still no baby. The funny thing is that my husband and I have always had a beautiful marriage. He's my best friend, my biggest supporter, the kind of man who makes me laugh when I feel like crying, the kind of man who remembers the little things, the kind of man who prays for me when I am asleep. People often assume that couples struggling with fertility must have problems in their marriage. But that isn't our story. The only thing missing from our marriage is a child. Around our 4th year of marriage, we decided to seek medical help. We went through countless appointments, blood tests, scans, questions, more tests, more waiting, more disappointment. Eventually, the doctors gave us answers. The fertility challenge wasn't mine, it was my husband's. I remember the day we got the results. I wasn't even thinking about myself. All I could think about was how devastated he looked. I could see the pain in his eyes. I could see how much he was blamed himself. He kept apologizing to me, as though he had done something wrong, as though he had chosen this. That day I made a decision. I told him we would face this together. I promised him he would never have to carry the burden alone. We agreed that our medical information would remain private, not because we were ashamed, not because we were hiding, but because we believed our fertility journey belonged to us. Unfortunately, his family saw things differently. As the years passed, they began to assume I was the reason we hadn't had children. The comments started subtly, then gradually became more direct. At family gatherings, women would pull me aside and ask if I had checked myself properly. Some would recommend herbs. Others would recommend pastors. Some would simply shake their heads and look at me with pity, as though I was broken. One auntie once looked me directly in the eyes and said, "A woman without children has not completed her assignment." I smiled. Then I went home and cried myself to sleep. Another time, during a family event, someone joked that my husband needed fresh soil if he wanted crops to grow. Everyone laughed, even though I knew exactly what they meant. I laughed too, because sometimes pretending not to be hurt is easier than explaining why you're hurt. My husband always defended me. Whenever someone spoke badly about me, he spoke up. Whenever someone blamed me, he corrected them. But he never told them the truth. He would simply say, "Leave my wife alone." And honestly, I respected that. For a long time, I believed love meant protecting each other. But recently, things have become unbearable. The pressure is no longer coming from 1 or 2 relatives. Now it feels like the entire family has decided I am the problem. Last Christmas was the worst. One family member openly suggested that my husband should marry another woman. Not joking, not indirectly, openly, right in front of me. Several people agreed, some even nodded, as though I wasn't sitting there, as though I wasn't a human being with feelings. I remember excusing myself and locking myself in the bathroom. I cried for almost an hour. When I came out, I looked at my reflection and realized something. I was exhausted, not physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually exhausted. For 8 years, I have protected a secret that was never mine to carry. For 8 years, I have allowed people to think I am the reason there are no grandchildren. For 8 years, I have smiled while being blamed for something I didn't cause. And lately, I've started wondering, at what point does protecting someone else begin to hurt yourself? I love my husband. I truly do. If I didn't love him, I wouldn't have stayed through all these years. I wouldn't have sat beside him through doctor's appointments. I wouldn't have held his hand after disappointing results. I wouldn't have spent nights praying for a miracle. But lately, I feel like I'm losing myself. Part of me wants to tell everyone the truth, not to embarrass him, not to shame him, not to hurt him, but simply to clear my name, to finally stop carrying blame that doesn't belong to me. The other part of me worries that doing so could damage our marriage. What if he feels betrayed with his family changes forever? What if people start treating him the same way they've treated me? I don't want that either. So here I am, stuck between protecting my husband and protecting myself. How do I handle this? Should I continue keeping our secret, or should I finally tell the truth? Kemi, first of all, thank you for trusting Tiny Wishes Stories with something so personal. Reading your story broke my heart. Not because of the fertility challenge itself, but because of the emotional weight you've been carrying for so many years. Personally, I don't think this is really about telling the truth or keeping a secret. I think this is about boundaries. You and your husband made a decision together, and I believe decisions like that should remain a team decision. However, I also believe that nobody should be expected to silently endure disrespect forever. Your feelings matter. Your mental health matters. Your dignity matters. I think it may be time for a very honest conversation between you and your husband. Not about blame, not about exposing anyone, but about finding a healthier way to handle the pressure from family. Because marriage should never mean one person carries all the emotional damage alone. Now, mummy triplets, I need your help. What advice would you give Kemi? If you were in her shoes, would you continue protecting your husband's privacy? Would you encourage him to tell his family the truth himself? Or would you handle it differently altogether? Let's keep the comments respectful. You never know who might be reading and finding comfort in your words today. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Tiny Wishes Stories. I'll see you all in the next one. Hugs from future babies. Mwah.